Hey, everybody, welcome to October. It's time to drop the puck on actual regular season games. Well, soon. Tom Callahan, Robin Leonio. This is the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen every single day. We have a lot to get to on today's show. First of all, if you like food, and I'm assuming you do, you're going to want to hear what we have to say about the Utah concession prices. Might be a pleasant surprise in there for you. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about what's been going on with the preseason. We're going to get into special teams a little bit. How much does the preseason actually matter? We discuss coming up next.
You are Locked On Utah Hockey Club, your daily podcast on the Utah Hockey Club, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Tom Callahan, Robin Leonio here with you, Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. And again, we thank you for being here with us first and foremost every single day, making us your first listen. Hey, don't forget to check out the other Locked On shows and maybe even the Locked On NHL, the national show, or if you're big into the fantasy hockey. I know, Robin, some fantasy hockey leagues are starting up here. Everybody's getting serious now. It is almost time to drop the puck on the regular season. Now, there's a couple games coming up actually this week being played over in Europe, and that feels weird to me. The actual regular season in North America is not going to kick off for a little over a week now, but there will be actual games that count in the standings towards the weekend.
It's wild, to think that we're here. We're here. This year went by really quickly, Tom. Ever since this offseason went by really quickly. We kept talking game about how quickly it's going to come up. Yet here we are, just like excited but still a little bit stunned, like, oh my God, it's right here.
It went by so fast. I can't imagine how Ryan Smith and company feel about how fast everything is rushed by. Now it's all behind him. And it's almost, Robin, it's funny. I like to say, hey, they're going to play the games with or without us, meaning you and I or anybody else in the media. They don't really care. But boy, everybody in that franchise who's been preparing and in some cases uprooting their life and moving up to Utah from Phoenix, or folks who are coming in from other parts of the country to work for this team, short runway. Incredibly short runway. It's crazy that they pulled it all together. And I can appreciate it. I had to do that with Tucson. In the American Hockey League, I didn't get there till July. And I had July, August, September, boom, get ready. You're launching an American Hockey League franchise. And we pulled it off. But, man, it's a task.
There's a lot of growing pains that are going to be being involved with it, too, right? A lot of people talk about, there's this issue, there's that issue, and everything like that. And there are people who are voicing their concerns inside the fan base and outside the fan base. So there's a lot of the ones from outside the fan base are, I will say, Tom, disgruntled Coyotes fans who want to find any little thing to talk crap. And again, I don't blame them. They're still going through their feels. They're still going through their 7 stages of grief. But
yeah, that's it. It is tough. I was threatened with that when, folks who have been watching know, but if you're new to the show, first of all, welcome. Second of all, I grew up in Buffalo, New York, and I was a longtime Bills fan. And there was a period in there where John Bon Jovi and his little team of people were threatening to buy the Bills and move them to Toronto or New Jersey or wherever. So I had some very real conversations with myself about whether or not I would decide to follow that team if they left Buffalo or not. And you know what? I'm sure a lot of fans have had that same conversation. Do I want to follow the team? Am I invested in the players? But by the same token, that used to be my team and now it's somewhere else. How do you feel about that? So there's a lot of emotions at play there. So I get it. I understand.
Different sport, but I have, again, being from the San Francisco Bay Area originally, I have a lot of friends who are talking about what's going on at the Oakland A's.
Yep.
Like they're trying to figure out, hey, what's happening and are we going to follow them? Whatever it's going to be. It's crazy.
Well, they've already gone through it with the Raiders. Now they're going through it with the A's.
And the Warriors.
Yeah, and the Warriors. That's right.
They lost all of them.
Yeah, the Warriors bailed too. Wow. but they were always the Golden State Warriors. So I don't know. They could play anywhere they want in the state of California, but still, no, it's weird to have to go through that. So if you are sticking with the team, we appreciate you being here with us, because it is a lot of the same cast of characters that it was last year with some improvements. And we've been able to see that in the preseason. So that's something I do want to talk about a little bit later on here, but I want to get to the concession prices because I'm kind of excited about this.
It's great.
Yeah,
I love it.
This is great news. Go ahead and, if you want to lead on, Rob, and give us your thoughts on this, because you and I both know that sometimes when you're going to a hockey game and you're on a budget, you really got to think about what you're going to do with the concessions.
Yeah, one of the things that it's always worried me, Tom, taking a look at concessions going into a game, and all of a sudden I have to pay like in a lot of stadiums or arenas, it's like $6 for a hot dog, $5 for a drink, like $15 for a beer or more, and it adds up so much and continuously, and then all of a sudden you're spending more than you spend on the ticket on concessions, because on not a lot of food. A lot of there are teams that are doing this slowly. Like I've seen, like, for example, like the Falcons in Atlanta when they first opened, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and a lot of other ones. Now Utah Hockey Club are going to be included on this, where they're affordable prices, actually low price concessions. Like, what was it, like a $2 or $3 hot dogs? Like, we're talking the lower end of here, like single digits for a lot of things, Tom. And it makes it incentivizing to not have to, for the people that tried to bring in outside food or whatever, that don't have to do that anymore, because, hey, you can actually afford to buy food in the arena.
Well, they call them fan-friendly concession prices. There's $2 and $3 offerings. What I like about this is, if you have a family and you're bringing your kids to the game, a lot of times, if whichever mom or dad or whoever, guardian, grandma, grandpa, Uncle Tom, works until 5 o'clock, and now I have to go home, I have to rally the troops, get everybody in the car, and let's run right back down to the Delta Center. Okay, so that doesn't leave a ton of time to eat dinner. Sometimes you can drive through on the way. Sometimes you're going to eat at the game. And now what I like about this, the fan-friendly concessions, here's the list of what they have. They have bottled water for $2. They have a box of popcorn, fan favorite, for $3. They have $3 nachos, which might just be chips and cheese, but let's not overlook $3 nachos here. That's outstanding.
Oh, yeah.
Also a $3 hot dog and Far's ice cream for $3. I can get on board with this. And you know what? If you want, and I'm not sure who has pouring rights in the building, if it's Coke or Pepsi, and I don't know what alcoholic beverages are going to be in the building, but just to know that if you just want to get a bottle of water for $2, you can do it. That's better than, I would say it's a ripoff. You go to other places, it's $5, $6, $7 for a bottle of water. That's crazy to me. And I was just at Fenway Park this summer for a baseball game. It wasn't the worst pricing I've seen, but it was up there. And yes, I know that's Boston. We're talking about Boston versus Salt Lake, but wow. This is really cool to see. I'm very excited for this.
And we compare it to, and again, the most recent game I went to was an Arizona Coyotes game over at Muller Arena. A lot of those were actually even more expensive too. I had to pay I think it was like $10 for a slice of pizza. It was a big slice, but it was even more. It was even more. It's like $15.
Have I ever told you my Disney World pizza slice story? I think this is worth telling.
I don't think so. Let's hear it.
Okay. All right. So, listen in, everybody. I've been to Disneyland and Disney World. So this takes place at Disneyland. So, as you may guess, Pizza Planet is the pizza place, right? So you order your food online, you pay for it, and then you go pick it up. So you never talk to anybody to order it. You order it through your little app. Okay, great. So, Robin, what I ordered was called the giant pepperoni pizza slice. What does that mean to you?
I would think it's a pretty big slice. I would think slice coming from an extra large pizza.
You would think that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I believe everybody would think that until they order it. When you pick up your tiny slice of pizza, it is covered by one large piece of pepperoni. That's the gimmick. So not a big slice, but one big piece of pepperoni. Yeah. I fell
That
for it.
was that will slide off on the first bite.
Oh my goodness. It was just, I was expecting this giant slice of pepperoni pizza. And no, I got a giant pepperoni on this little slice of pizza. So,
All right, I want to do a little comparison, Tom. Like you
okay.
spent some time in Tucson.
Yes.
You been to many of the pizza places in downtown Tucson?
Probably all of them.
Empire Pizza.
Okay.
Those slices, when you get a bite of slice, those are big slices.
Yes.
That's what I expect out of a jumbo slice.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so. If you haven't been to Disneyland and you see that and you're tempted to order it, I'm just throwing it out there for you. There are better values on the menu everywhere. So
Yeah.
anyway,
But to the point at all here, it's nice.
but the value here is what we're
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah,
you
we're
know?
talking about getting value of something really good, even if it's small, right? Even if it is and it's a little bit smaller, that's fine. At least you're still getting something. I will also say too, it adds to the affordability as you talked about the water. The water being $2 for a bottle. It's being able to, let's say, for the responsible drinkers out there, if there's alcohol being served in the venue, which there probably most likely is. It's like, hey, you can also get a bottle of water, so you're not gonna end up being stumbling out of the arena or whatever.
Well, and not everybody wants to drink a carbonated beverage.
That too, yeah.
Like I just might not be in the mood for that. That's maybe I don't want that for whatever reason. I mean, now I'm someone who drinks a lot of iced tea, so and unsweetened too. So sometimes water is far more appealing than a pop or a soda, depending on what part of the country you're from. So I like it. I think it's good. And a $3 hot dog is great. You can throw a couple of hot dogs at your kids, get them a nacho, get them a popcorn. They can split that. They could, pass it back and forth. So right there, I mean, so typical, let's go family of four here. Let's just say 4 hot dogs, $12.
Right.
2 nacho, 2 popcorn, $12. So maybe an ice cream. If you do ice cream for the family, that's another $12. So right now we're at 36 before drinks, whatever you want drinks to be. But if 2 of those are bottles of water, you're at $40 for 4 people. That's not bad for a night out. And I realize that can still be a lot of money to a lot of people, but for going to the ballpark or the arena or the venue, that's not bad.
Oh, absolutely not. It's again, like at that point, like if you're getting like the idea is you don't want to have to spend significantly more than what you paid for your ticket.
Right.
Because a lot of people might have splurged for their ticket. So they might not be willing to spend a lot on concessions because they're usually expensive. You can put a value in there. It's like, oh, I could get myself a hot dog. Why not?
And fast food value meals routinely go $10 to $15 a piece now.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah, I think it's great. I applaud the Utah Hockey Club for even though it's not a wide slate of offerings, I'm sure they're going to have some cool stuff, right? I'm sure they're going to have unique stuff. They're probably even going to have some stuff that's unique to hockey games. But the fact that they are going to do this for fans, I think is tremendous. It's a great gesture, and I applaud it. I'm a big fan. So well done.
Yeah. And then, of course, what I really want to see, and for another topic much later, is to see the kind of food that they end up offering in like the club area. But that's for another time.
Yes.
Because
if we ever get in there, yeah.
Because that's always an experience. Those that ever get the opportunity to get into a club at any arena or ballpark anywhere, it's awesome.
Yes.
But we got to keep going on this episode, Tom. We're gonna get to some more preseason talk. What's going on at the preseason of the Utah Hockey Club, the National Hockey League. We'll do that right after this. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get in the hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. You don't even have to win that bet. You just have to place a $5 bet, and you get that $200 guaranteed in bonus bets. And again, and anything in the NFL, all you want, get those same game parlays. Plus, if you're really into other kind of parlays, a 12-leg parlay like I love to do occasionally, just because why not? That's all on FanDuel.com. Visit FanDuel.com right now. That's America's #1 sportsbook.
Robin, have you ever hit a 12-leg parlay?
12-leg parlay? No, I actually did hit an 8-leg parlay in college football the first week that sports betting became legal in Arizona.
You must have felt like a champ.
Oh, I felt amazing.
I know what I'm talking about.
I only bet $1, Tom. I bet $1, and I won $350.
Wow.
I was on the edge of my seat because
Imagine if you'd have bet 10.
Yeah, the last game I was nervous. I was this close.
That's crazy. But that's kind of cool, right? I mean, it's you're nervous because you could win. You have $1 in there, right? I mean, just for the entertainment value alone, I think that's totally worth it. So
that's what I love. That's what I love. I love, again, those that do like gambling, gamble responsibly. Because I don't want to lose your house or anything. Only bet what you can afford. That's my little disclaimer there. Only bet what you can afford. But
yep, and you can still have fun. Like again, your example, $1, and look at, you went an 8-leg parlay and you won. So you were invested all the way to the end. That was probably a really crazy day for you, but the whole day you were paying attention to stuff. You were locked in, sweating it over $1. So it's that's fun. That's fun. So
it was great.
I like it. All right, let's jump onto the preseason talk here. Actually, several topics that we could get to. We're just going to see where we get to on this. Believe me, we're going to have more episodes coming up here as the team cuts down its roster coming up, and we're going to see where guys fall, whether they go down to Tucson, whether and every once in a while you see a couple of guys who just get outright released. We haven't seen everybody in this preseason, and Robin, actually, one of the biggest names that I wanted to see, John Marino, has not been able to participate yet. TJ Ginla finally got into a game, and I thought looked pretty good. But it's, just even at this point of the year, there are bumps, there are bruises, and in some cases there's a little more serious injuries. Right now, I mean, we're really hoping to see Marino back for opening night at this point, I think.
Yeah. I don't think I'd be too worried. Obviously, like, you don't see him at all in a game. You're like, I kind of want to at least see what he looks like. You're not getting that opportunity, and sometimes, like, hey, is he going to be warmed up enough come opening night?
Well, and this one of the things about the preseason, people, and it used to be longer. Preseason used to be a month, which is crazy. Training camp was a month. Teams would play like 10 or 11 games, which was way too many. And it's kind of crazy to think about now. It's basically a little over 2 weeks for training camp. They play 4 to 6 games. Of course, the week before the rookies are going, so it gives you a little bit of an extra chance to see the kids that are in. But one of the interesting things for me in preseason is when you try to narrow down that lineup, you want to feature your battles. If you're a coach, a GM, you want to put, for instance, Kyler Yamamoto and Josh Doan have been kind of fighting it out. A lot of people think that's the last spot on the roster, depending on who's healthy, who's not there.
Yeah.
There's a world where they both make it. But, you want to feature those battles, but you also want to get your other players ready. The Clayton Kellers of the world want to hit the season at 100% and doing 100 miles an hour. They want to be healthy and on stride and feel like they're ready to go. The goaltenders want to feel like they've gotten enough work. And so what you tend to see is coaches go to the guaranteed players, and they say, how much work do you want? How many games do you need? They'll say to the goaltenders, how many periods or games or how many shots do you want to face? What do you need to get ready for the season. And then they try to fill it in around that. So
Yep.
I think that Utah has done a good job of that this year, getting the players ready. And quite frankly, it's not as easy as it looks, especially, again, we talked about this defense trying to blend all these new faces together and make it work.
You're right. Yeah. And seeing all that, I'm think they're doing a quite a fine job. And yeah, making sure, those vets get their warm up, as I just like to call it, their warm up, to make sure they're ready. But also get the new guys, the new kids, the ability to show off what they're worth, A, and B, just get the opportunity just to, at least to them, play meaning. Like I say, hey, we're playing meaningful hockey this month. As a whole, we come talking about the National Hockey League. But for these kids, the preseason still is meaningful hockey to them.
Sure. A lot of them are, if you're battling for a job, you're darn right this matters. You know what I mean? This is your chance right now. You're trying to make something happen for yourself, for your career, make an impact, even if it doesn't get you picked up right now, or maybe it doesn't even get you picked up in Utah, but maybe someone's watching from Detroit, someone's watching from Ottawa, and you end up there.
And that even goes beyond, Tom, the kids actually, because I just remembered, let's not forget, because there's also veterans who go on PTOs going in, just like, hey, we'll give you a tryout. But then scouts of other teams are watching during the tryout. Maybe that team's like, oh, you're not a fit for our team. But there's like the other scouts like, but hey, pick this guy up right now.
And PTOs, Robin, we never used to see those. Nobody handed out PTOs. That was, nowadays guys work all summer to be healthy enough just to sign a PTO to see if they can catch on somewhere. The landscape has changed so much, especially with the CBA. It's crazy, but I'm glad you brought that up because it's not just the younger players who are trying to battle for a spot between junior and Tucson and Utah. It's for these other guys too, who just want to keep playing at the NHL level if they can. And if that spot happens to be in Carolina, okay, great. Or Anaheim, great. If I'm going in there as a 6D or a 12 forward, okay.
I feel like a perfect example of that. I think if you remember, how this guy has been in the last few years, like a guy like Alex Galchenyuk. Remember how many PTOs has that guy gone through? I feel bad for him. He's kind of hadn't got an opportunity to get his legs somewhere. But there's an example of a guy who's kind of gone through those PTOs and understands what it means to really have to work his ass off.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? That brings up the intensity of your camp. It brings up the drive and it really shows you the character of not only that kind of player, but also everybody else around him. How do they respond? How do they react? And now you're settling your leadership ideas and positions. So there's an awful lot going on right now for this Utah Hockey Club. And as they kind of ferret out where they want everybody to be, I also think too, the interesting thing to me has been with no Marino. I thought Sergachev was a little tentative in the first couple games, kind of getting it going. But I really have started to like how he looks out there. I think Dursey has looked fantastic. And with no Marino, now it looks like we are going to get our Dursey-Sergachev pairing, I would think, here to start the year.
I mean, just based off how things have been going in the preseason, I was like, don't do it. But, if it works, it works.
The other thing, too, and this is something I wanted to talk about a couple of weeks ago, never really found a place to slide it in, but I went back and watched a bunch of Marino games from last year. I will say this, not that I don't give people room to grow. I absolutely do. But I felt like when he had top line assignments, he wasn't as effective, which is what your first D pair has to do.
Yeah.
And so I kind of began to revise my own prediction for Marino even before the injury. Now, after the injury, when he's coming back, whenever that happens to be, that he's healthy to play a game again. I think you do have to kind of slot him back into the middle, regardless of what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I still have a little bit some reservations, Tom. Mainly again because I still just don't like having two puck moving guys on the same line.
I understand that completely.
So again, and that comes from experience, but it's I mean, again, as of right now, though, I don't see another person who I believe would strongly pair well with Sergachev on the top pair.
They just really have to be very aware of what the other
Mhm.
one's doing when they're doing it. And this is also, here's another thing, the signing of Robert Bortuzzo, huge.
Yep.
Now looks huge because Bortuzzo is going to be needed and counted on to munch those minutes in the meantime. And so, you know what, I don't mind it, and that's why you make depth signings. So, um, I'll tell you what, let's grab a break, and we will come back here in just a moment. We'll talk a little bit more about the preseason. And Robin, I want to get your opinion on how much does the preseason matter, especially when it comes to the record. So let's talk about that after this. And today's show is brought to you in part by Game Time. Check out Game Time. Download the Game Time app. It has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I told you earlier in the episode, I went to Fenway earlier this summer. I use Game Time. I toggled on the all-in pricing, which is fantastic. You do have to turn it on, but I don't know why you wouldn't. But turn on the all-in pricing. And you know what? I got to see where the great deals were, where I wanted to sit. I could look at the map. It told me what the good deals were. Ended up sitting on the third base side, couple rows from the field. It was absolutely fantastic. So big fan of the all-in pricing. And it gives you a picture of what your seats will look like, which is also fantastic. Put you right in the stadium. You can also do things like customize your spot, and you can curate your deals, which I also think is great. It makes it easier to find the best deals on seats. Lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, all that and more. And what's coming up in Salt Lake? You got Billy Joel tickets that are already on the site, UFC 307, Sabrina Carpenter, and Arizona football at BYU. And I'm sure Robin's going to have a story about Arizona football. I thought that was a big time win for the Wildcats. Bear down. But hey, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On NHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time.
All right, Tom. Yeah, you mentioned it, Tom.
I had to bring it up. It was a great win.
To bring it up. It was a great win. No, that was a great win. Those that did just skip a little bit through. We're talking about the U of A versus Utah Utes over the weekend.
So I used to work for the University of Arizona, and Robin is a grad, so we come by it honestly. We both do have some Arizona rooting in us.
And shout out to my listeners and so some of my loyal fans out there, the podcast, Caden and Tiffany for going in on a little friendly wager. They're great people. We had some fun out of it. That's all I'll say. We had some fun out of it a little bit, even though it didn't go their way, which honestly surprised me a little bit. But I'll still take the win.
You weren't the only one that surprised, but good for Arizona. So that, but you know what? Hey, it's a great sports town. Like Salt Lake looks so good on that game, featured on national TV. The stadium was packed. It was rocking. I expect the same stuff for Utah Hockey Club when the regular season hits. But we're still in the preseason. And so, Robin, my question to you, number one, do you put any stock in wins and losses in the preseason? And number two, if you do or if you don't, why?
It's interesting. It's honestly, I'll tell you this. To me, I don't think it really is much of a clear-cut answer because, in many ways, it's not, right? Because once the regular season starts, everyone starts back at zero, and things can change. You could have a perfect preseason, and all of a sudden, you start the regular season in the gutters because you just cannot get a good start. But then on the flip side, you can have a terrible preseason. You kind of only really focus on your focused on the prospects and getting their game time before going back to juniors or AHL, ECHL, wherever it might be across the board. Come regular season is like, oh my God, where did these guys come from? They're all of a sudden, 10-game undefeated streak going into the regular season. It almost like it seems like it means nothing at that point. But that said, there are those moments. I think it comes to when you're talking about a team like Utah or teams that might be like on the bubble to where we're coming out of a rebuild. It's where it's like, hey, where are these guys getting? Are they competitive? Let's see the level of competition that they're bringing in the preseason. I like to think that part matters in seeing, and that kind of is a really important thing to the GMs. And the grand scheme of things, no, but it really is a very case by case thing, Tom. Oh, you're muted.
Oh, now. Okay. So I said interesting, but I didn't really hear an answer in there. So that's okay. I'll let you skate on that one for a minute. So I think here's my response, and feel free to react in any manner you like to this. And fans, don't forget to let us know in the comments or through feedback if you want to reach out to us on social media. I'm at Callahan on air. I try to respond to everybody. Feel free to throw your comments at me, flame me if you want. I don't care. And at Robin_Leonio on Twitter. So I don't care about the preseason record at all. Do not care. You can go 0-57 in the preseason. It doesn't matter. What matters to me is the process. What matters to me is the eyeball test. And there are things that do matter in the preseason. If you're losing 3-2 or you're losing 7-5 or you're losing 15-1, those are all different games.
Right.
I want to see, when I finally put my lineup together, I want to see, again, eyeball test. What is special teams doing? Penalty kill, power play. How are the goalies playing? How comfortable are my regulars? Are they in a spot where I feel like they need more work? They haven't prepared. Do they know what they're doing? Is everybody cool with the system right now? Do we know what we're doing? Because you can lose a game by making mistakes that are puck took a bad bounce. You caught a rut and fell down 2-0. You can lose games that way. But if you're losing games because you're messing up the system's play, because your defensive coverage is poor, because of those things, that is what worries me. So, and if you're winning games, it can gloss over a lot of things. You can score 3 breakaway goals, which is not going to happen in a regular season game, and win 3-1. But if your defense was scrambly and your goalie played out of his mind, but you won because of that, there's a good there. The goalie was out of his mind, but there's a bad. The defense was scrambly. So to me, I don't care what the record is, but I do want to see the performance. And so right now, the concerns I'm carrying into this final week is the D zone coverage, first and foremost. And second, the concern I'm carrying is the penalty kill. You'll notice it's another defensively oriented thing. Power play, I think, looks good. I like the offensive zone play. I think they're doing okay there. The goaltenders have actually looked really good, and I'm actually pretty pleased with how good they look, how early. But the D zone coverage worries me, Robin. I'm worried.
Yeah, and again, I think that's one of the things that I think has always concerned us, right? We've been talking about defense all summer long, right? Going in even before they had one. But when they didn't have one, we're like, well, they don't have a defense, and they put it together. It's like, okay, we have a defense, but we don't know how these guys are together because it's a completely new blue line. We have to see how they work together.
Still haven't even seen them all yet.
Yeah, still haven't seen them all yet. So I think there was a little bit to be to be built off that still. We just had to figure out what's going on with that. That's why the preseason exists. And I think that's kind of like what I was trying to get at is record-wise, it means nothing. But personnel-wise, you want to see exactly where these guys are building. And if these guys are winning games, like on the person, like look at it that way, then sure. And otherwise, if they're the reason why you're losing a game, it's like, you got to look inward.
Yes, you do. And that's honestly for this hockey club right now, where they are, where we expect them to be. They may have us, and remember, I talked about this, and I can't remember how many months ago it was, but I said this team may have a slow start to the season because of the defense trying to come together. And so right now, that's kind of playing itself out in the preseason. So that's what I'm seeing. I'm sure it'll get better. First of all, let me say that because they do have to learn each other. They do have to get more familiar, but it needs to get better. So, yes, that is going to be a concern for me early. I think if the goaltenders steal them some games early, they could get off to a good start. If they don't, 500, maybe a little less. We'll see.
Yeah. And I don't want to raise the alarm for anyone yet because a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's preseason." Yes, it is preseason, but at the end of the day, it's like this is our sample size right now. Like,
right, this is all we have to go on.
Yeah, it's all we have to go on right now because it's a new team, especially the blue line. It's a completely new blue line. Like, I want to be able to be confident going on opening night when they play the Blackhawks on opening night. It's the Blackhawks, but it's still a big game nonetheless. Again, opening night in Salt Lake City, everyone's going to be there. But I want to see them come right out the gates and take care of it. And not only that, but continue a momentum, have a really good start to the season. You want to, because not to say it doesn't matter, because heck, you take a look at like at least the first couple of games. Take a look at what Edmonton. I mean, the completely different situation, but what they had like a 12-13 game losing streak or whatever to start. Right. They were bad. They were really bad to start the season, and all of a sudden they turned things around. Utah doesn't have the luxury of having like superstar talent like Edmonton does to be able to turn around a season like that. So if they start like that, they're going to stay like that all season long. It's going to look bad. That's why you don't want that to happen. That's why I look at these preseason people considering it overreaction. It's not an overreaction if that's all the sample size we have.
Yeah, it is. It's just a reaction to what we see, what we go by. And you know what? I mean, we've been around this game a long time, and I've certainly been around it longer than you. It's. I mean, I dare say that I've seen a few games in my day, but things can change so quickly, and it can be somebody catches fire, it could be somebody gets hurt, it could be an opportunity opens up for a guy, and even when someone gets hurt, sometimes somebody steps up that you did not see them coming. So. A lot of things can happen, and bounces and breaks even out. I think puck luck over the course of a season, if you work hard, I think you make your own breaks. But right now for Utah, it really does come down to the work ethic on the defensive side of the puck. For me, that is what I'm going to be focused on here, even into the beginning of the regular season. But hey, it's October, and real hockey, meaningful regular season hockey is almost here.
It is almost here. I do want to make one quick mention, Tom. It's of a player who I've liked so far. Have liked in the preseason a huge amount, and I talked about this guy all off season long, and it only makes me even more excited. Dylan Guenther.
I was, you know what? Yes, he looks pretty darn good with that content. You know what? That's another show. We could talk about Dylan.
No, exactly. And I kind of tease people. I want to talk about Dylan Guenther, a whole episode on Dylan Guenther later this week, Tom.
Yeah, hasn't played a full NHL season yet, gets his new contract. I think a lot of people kind of turn their noses up at that, but he's doing okay. He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode of the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We are available everywhere you get your shows. Don't forget to also interact with us on social media. We are on Instagram, Threads, and X at LO_NHL Utah, and on TikTok at LO_Utah Hockey. I am personally at Robin_Leonio, and Tom Callahan is at Callahan on air. Don't forget to also interact with us via the text club. You can send a text to 801-760-9033 to get started. It's 801-760-9033. We'll send you the link to sign up. Your first 14 days are always free to kind of give you the idea whether you like it or not. And now, but the meaningful hockey is coming, Tom. all that exclusive content we've been teasing, it's slowly gonna start pouring in for all of you guys. This is where it's all gonna matter. This is where the benefits really start rolling in on this text club.
Yeah, we have the insider access, if you will. I mean, the practices and the video and the games and the comments and all the things we get to hear that I know a lot of folks don't. Well, we're going to be able to bring you not only some of that, but also our insight and analysis. And we're going to break things down in a lot of ways, and a lot of that's going to be exclusive to the text club. And I can't wait. I think we're going to offer a lot of value there. So hopefully, folks, you're ready to give us a try here, and let's hit the ground running. I'm so excited. Robin. We're almost there.
One more time, send us a text to 801-760-9033 to get started. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. We'll see you guys next time.